Hello, I'm going to do a quick video on Lua for a guildmate. He's asking me about this champion, and I'm going to tell you a bit about her, what she's good at, and what her limitations are. She is a good champion. She's better if you're early or mid game. She kind of phases out to late game, and maybe she comes back at the very late game for faction wars, but I'm not so sure about that either. So, really quickly, she is an epic version and a discount version at the same time of Cold Heart. She does a few things differently, and basically, honestly, some of them not well. The only place that she's actually better than a cold heart, if you have a cold heart, is actually in the arena. We can talk about the places where her and cold heart are most competitive with each other as Fire Knight and Spiderlings. I don't care about the other dungeons and stuff. If the potion dungeons don't matter because you're going to be able to build them. If you care, one of them, Cold Heart has a heal reduction if you care about that for that, and Minotaur doesn't count as far as I'm concerned. So neither one of them is the best for Dragon. Uh, Cold Heart is better for Dragon. Neither one of them is optimal for Ice Golems. I would maybe say Lua is better for Ice Golems, unless you have the right count. And for Spiderlings and Fire Knights, we're going to have a little more in-depth conversation, so I won't ruin which one's better for which. Real quick, her stats. This is pretty average for an epic attack-based champion. This is a bit on the high side, but not extravagantly so. And this is a bit on the low side, again, not extravagantly so. But she doesn't have a lot of survivability on her base stats. Her speed is about normal, slightly high for an epic attack. There's faster ones for sure, but there's also slower ones for sure. And this is normal. Her A1's kind of unique. So if you think of if you're familiar with like what Biggin does, if he crits on his A1, he does 2 hits and he does a lot of damage. This is not like this. This is if she does a crit on her A1, which is not an AoE, which Biggins is an AoE, or maybe it's not. I take that back. Um, if she does a crit on her A1, you have to she'll hit everyone again, and it doesn't do a lot of damage. It does 50% and it doesn't crit. And the so you have to build crit on her. It doesn't do a lot of damage. The good thing about it is if you run Evil Eye, it takes turn meter for everything, and that's where I'll talk about that more when we do spiders. But that's one of her benefits for spiders. Actually, I'll just explain it now. The spider keeps dropping new mobs, and Evil Eye only works um, the first time you hit with your A1 on a new mob. So every time it drops new spiders and she uses her A1, she takes turn meter from them, which makes it slower for them to attack your tank targets, allowing you to do more damage to the main spider, but without them attacking you. This ability here is a hard nuke. It works well in arena. You can kill Rotus with it. It probably is on the similar level. If the total 3 attacks is probably on a similar level on a Skull Crown, believe it or not, it's A2. But she does it in 3 hits. Some people call this a built-in lifesteal. Not really. If you're in arena and all 4 of the enemies align, none of them die before you do 3 hits, it's worth 30%. On a boss, it's worth 7.5%. And if you hit 10 Spiderlings and the boss all 3 times in Spider, it's worth a little over 80%. So this will not keep you alive with a Lua. Lua needs other things to keep her alive. It's a nice stuff. It's nice to have. This is an ability in arena that hits hard. That's why you bring her in arena, and to a lesser extent this ability. This actually gets problematic in endgame spiderlings. We'll talk about that in a second. And then her final ability, which is also very comparable to a cold heart, is that this takes turn meter and it works on a boss. Um, and it does hit fairly hard, but not on a non-boss. On a boss, it hits like any other hard-hitting ability. It doesn't hit like a Cold Heart's max HP or a Husks or a Royal Guards or anything like that. It doesn't do massive damage. It just does normal good damage. So if you're taking her into a dungeon, she's not going to do a lot of damage on your boss. You're taking it for turn meter control, and you're taking it for wave killings because this can hurt a wave. Um, Really quickly, I'm just going to compare it to Cold Heart and just talk about the difference. We talked about this ability. They both, it's the same cooldown reduction, except that she only needs to get to 70% crit, and it has any max HP. This is why this can hit, like, you can find a video of someone probably doing 2.5 million to certain bosses with this ability. 1.5 to 2 million is more common, but you can get up there. Um, this spreads poison and attacks all enemies. This is eh. And then this ability here talks 4 times at random and has a heal reduction. This is actually makes her, this ability alone, it makes her much better than Lua in Fire Knights, in my opinion, because it attacks 4 times and it puts a heal reduction on it, and the Fire Knight does heal, so and can take the heal reduction debuff. So it's actually a nice buff for the debuff from the Fire Knight. And actually, the stats are pretty close. Her attack is lower, but she don't care because her big damage is off of enemy enemy HP. She's got 800 less, give or take, health and 33 less defense, and a little bit slower and a little less crit damage. But the benefit of this is that you only have to get her to 70% crit. The other thing that's similar about them is that you both have to get accuracy. You have to get accuracy because you want the turn meter reduction to land, and in this case, you want the um, heal reduction to land if you're using a Fire Knight. So you have to. So on a Lua, you have to build crit rate to near 100% and accuracy to like over 200 if you're going to use her in PvE. So I'm going to show you mine real quick. To be fair to poor Lua in this video, I built her maybe 6-7 months ago to help me get through like 13, or I don't remember exactly, but say like 13 to 16 through spiders because I was trying to do my arbiter missions, which I eventually did. Um, and her gear is dated, and so her accuracy is too low. Her crit damage should be at least another 30-40%. She'd have another 10% or so crit rate, and probably another 1,000 attack if I was to build her now. I don't use her for anything now except for faction wars, so I don't care. So that tells you how endgame I think she is. So here and here are her masteries really quickly. You want this evil eye so that on her A1 hits and then it hits everyone else again. It does that 5% extra turn meter reduction. Um, I don't have enough accuracy on a gear, so this is why we have this. Plus we wanted this, and I wanted Laura Steel just for the boost stats because again I built her when this account had less than half the power than it does currently. I went with Helm Smasher because I used her in Arena for a bit, and two, she's not a boss killer anyway. So, but if the other option would be Flawless Execution. She's going to crit a lot, so there's that. But I kind of like Helm Smasher. Helm Smasher when it procs is worth a lot more than 20% extra crit. Um, so that's why I go for it. So we're going to take her into Fire Knights really quickly. I already answered what my opinion is on on who's better for. I'm sorry, we're going to take her into Spider. Um, I already answered who I think's better in Fire Knights, and the answer is undoubtedly Coldheart. She's cheaper to build. When you think about the book's perspective, and she has 4 turn hit A1, and she puts heal reduction. The only thing that Lua would be better for is the waves. So I took one of my Coldhearts, who I didn't show you, but I'll show you real quick. She's poorly geared. She's full mastery. She's also Helm Smasher. Less than 200% crit damage, less than 100% crit. So that's all poor. She has enough accuracy to land her turn meter reduction because I'm running a burn strategy anyway. And terrible health attack, which doesn't matter with her, and just enough health to make sure that she isn't always attacked. But in this case, she was because the Lua has more health. And she's a bit slow. Like I just don't care because I really run effectively a burn strategy. Normally I run 2 Coldhearts. I actually defeated Spider 20 before I had my Venus, and let's slow this down for a second. Um, and I was using a race strategy, but I find burn strategies to be the best. So the purpose of this is she goes in, she puts down this decreased damage. He comes in, he puts up massive shields to keep everyone alive. She does whatever she does, and what she just did there is she did her A3 and did a ton of damage. In a burn strategy, you don't want to do a ton of damage. So there's 2 strategies for 2 main strategies. There's a bunch of strategies. There's a Senesha tank strategy. There's other tank strategies, but the 2 main ones are. So note that poorly geared Coldheart did 1.2 million. Um, there are people who can get the 2+ million with Coldhearts on this. So the 2 main strategies is a rush strategy. You come in and try to kill the spider without it taking a turn. In which case you'll use like Septimus or Royal Guards and someone like a Venus to come in doing what she's doing right there, and then hopefully the spider never goes and you kill her. Or if the spider goes, it's really close to death and you kill her and there's not enough spiderlings left. The other strategy is the burn strategy. That's the best strategy in my game, not for terms of speed, in my opinion, but in terms of efficiency. So I have another account, has like a 60 guild hall, level 60 guild hall, less than 1 million or right around 1 million power, and it can 2-person Spider 20 with Tyrant Ixilmore, however you say his name, and Miscreated Monster. And all he does is they burn it down. It takes a little less than 2 minutes. That means I can put 3 chickens. I can take overnight. I can take 40 rank 4 level 1 champions. Put them with that. Put enough energy in, and at the end I get three ranked 40 champions plus the same amount of stuff. I don't care if it takes 6 seconds or 1.5 minutes because I'm sleeping, right? So to me, there the Cold Heart did 1.6 million. Um, so Lua doesn't help in the speed runs because she doesn't do enough individual damage. When we see the damage at the end of this, it's not going to be that high. I mean, it's going to be high, but it's going to be from all AoE damage. And she doesn't bring enough turn meter control, uh, any more turn meter control than Cold Heart. She doesn't bring the boss damage like Cold Heart does. And what she winds up doing is she winds up killing all these spiderlings because her A1 winds up hitting everything, and her A3 does a lot of damage. What I really want is the burns to happen. So if I had her in with my other Cold Heart, we would have been done another minute ago. And you could say that, well, partially because of books and because of gear. I go, no, because if she had more gear, she would have killed even more spiderlings, and the burns wouldn't have happened. So right now I have no burns on anyone, right? And half these things are low health. So let's see if she does her burns now. Yeah, she does her burns now. So if she comes in and does a lot of damage to these, and I didn't get that many burns on her, you don't actually get the kill. Like yeah, see, so all that damage she did, that's not good. That doesn't help at all. It doesn't kill the boss. And it just makes these spiderlings die faster. So if he comes in right now and AOE does his AOE, they die, and then they don't burn, and it just makes this actually riskier. So she's actually bad for that. Where she's good is at level like 13, 14, and 15, where she's taking turn meter, and you actually are still trying to kill the spiderlings. We're not trying to do that. So she did 1.8 million of it, but that's all AOE damage. Look at this, 5.5, 5.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop out this Lua. I'm going to put in another Cold Heart. I mean, these are really bad geared Cold Hearts. I don't have a great gear on this account. 62% 170. So let's just see what happens when I do it this way. So this is going to be faster because the spiderlings aren't going to die, and because she actually does damage to the boss. So in my opinion, would I rather have 2 Cold Hearts for spiderling or two Cold Hearts for Fire Knights? Or a Cold Heart and a Lua? And the answer is 2 Cold Hearts. The area where I would want Lua would be an arena, but she's not good enough for it. Not that she's terrible for it, but she's just not good enough. So would I build her? I would only build her if I was in the beginning of an account, and I was definitely if I was a low spender. And the reason being is, well, she's going to get you through a lot of mid-game content. She is end-game viable, but she's just not optimal. So in that case, she's good. But if you have a Cold Heart and a Royal Guard, I don't see it. If you have a Miscreated Monster and a Burn, I don't see it. If you have good arena champions, I don't see it. There's nothing that she brings that's good enough to compensate for the extra cost of building over a Cold Heart. If you don't have a Cold Heart and you don't have a Royal Guard and you're struggling with spiders, I would actually probably go with a tank strategy at that point. I'd start like looking into Paragons. I have Man Eaters. That's actually another way. That's how I got through stage 19 with Man Eaters. You know, I just don't see it. You know, it just there you go, 1.5. That's a crappy geared Cold Heart. It's just they're so much better, right? They might die. So that was 1 minute and 36 versus. I mean, granted, the other one I did some manual, but look, this Cold Heart did more damage than my Venus because of how hard they're hitting. There's no world where I think that Lua is better than the Cold Heart except for Arena, and if you have a good team, it's not. So I've never spent epic books on her. I've never re-geared her, and I forget that I have her. But she's not bad. It's just she is actually good. It's just that she's not end game. She's not end game great, so that's why I don't use her. Anyway, if you have any questions or any comments, I'd like to hear them. Thank you very much. Have a good day.